a first set of slides to talk about the program itself, and then we'll switch over to the infrastructure food safety workshop. And so what I'm going to do here is get ready to share screen and show you guys my slides for the workshop. Uh-oh, there we go. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to share screen with you guys. Let me put this into present mode. All right, and so if you do have a question in this first part, I'm going to save some time at the end for question and answer. Feel free to also throw it up in the chat box, and then that way we'll have a record of it as well. So this is the Oahu Safe Farms Initiative. You guys, the 20 farms represented here, are the folks that we've selected to be a part of this project. This is a City and County of Honolulu CARES Act funded project. And what that means is that we have a very short timeline. If you guys have heard anything about the CARES Act funding, it does run out or it needs to be expended by the end of the year, actually even earlier than that, end of November to be specific. So first thing I want to say about this project, and we're going to talk about this multiple times, is that we do have a quick window here to execute this project. The project is being completed by North Shore Economic Vitality Partnership. That's me and Kevin's organization. We work on food safety training for farmers and help them get GAP certified through USDA Group GAP. We'll also be assisted by the folks from Cooperative Extension. And again, this is supported by the City and County of Honolulu. So just want to give a shout out to everybody there and let them know, let you guys know. So this project is focused on food safety and business improvements. And I just wanted to spend a moment talking about why we're focusing on that with this particular project. First and most importantly is we wanted a project that provided assistance to support Oahu farms, particularly in response to COVID. We know that a lot of folks have experienced drastic market reductions, and we want to be there to support you folks and help you get the things you need to keep on going. For folks who have been in the position of pivoting their business or expanding, we want to be able to help you with that as well. And certainly we've found over the last few months that there is a huge need to increase our local capacity. Producers locally are suddenly being asked to produce and provide a lot more local product. Some of them are not ready to do so, but could do so with a little bit of help. Certainly, we're also aware, of course, of more consumer concerns around food safety. This COVID epidemic has highlighted the need for us to be very vigilant in our hygiene practices, and that sort of bleeds into food safety as well. So we're going to talk about that in this, as well as the following set of slides. We want to also make sure that folks who are local producers are able to jump into larger markets if they become available. So this has always been a focus of North Shore EVP. We really want to help small farmers access these larger institutional markets like schools and hospitals, as well as some of the distributors locally. And in some cases, those folks require some level of food safety training or certification. Just some examples, I know the Hawaii DOE, some vendors are selling into the school system, and the DOE does ask local farmers to follow GAP practices. They don't require GAP certification at this point, but it could happen in the future. And what we'd really like to do is help folks prepare for that. Another example, I am over here on Kauai, and on this island, we had a very successful USDA Farmers to Families program getting started, and then found that that program required the farm vendors selling into it to have GAP certification, which was quite limiting. Here on Kauai, we only have 2 small farms that are GAP certified. So we want to make sure that we're providing some access to all of you about GAP, about FSMA, and helping you on that journey should you require that certification or decide that it's something you want to get. So for those of you in the program, there are 20 farms. We started off with just under 30 applicants. Based on the timeline of this project, we couldn't take more than 20. So congratulations to all of you who made it in. Little bit about the folks here, the characteristics of the folks in this program. Certainly you all are farmers and growing fresh produce for sale. So that was one of the criteria of getting into this. We're also looking for folks who genuinely are looking to make improvements in their operation, particularly around food safety and increased market access. To do that, there's a couple parts of this program that you're going to need to help us out with. The first one is that you're willing to commit to an on-farm assessment. We have a technical advisory team. They will be coming out and visiting with you on the farm and looking at your current food safety practices and other business needs and helping you refine what you're going to be doing in this project. We'll also be doing some water sampling from your farm as well. So we will need your help with these things. And one of the ways that you can help us is the timelines here. Timelines in this project are really, really strict. We really need your help to execute this project on time. We have a very short window. I'm going to talk about that specifically in just a moment. But what I want to emphasize right now is that from this point forward, appointments with your technical advisor for your on-farm assessment, it's got to be kept. If you have an emergency and you have to change it, we really need to schedule that again within the short window that we have. So I would please ask that you do your best to keep that initial appointment. You may have received an email from someone on the technical advisory team already. They're looking to get that scheduling done with you as quickly as possible. We really need also for folks to be prompt with communication. We need to make sure that we are able to order your materials as soon as we can, because again, we have a really short window to do this. And so if we contact you with a question, we really need you to get it back to us as quickly as possible with as much detail as you can provide. Additionally, we'll be doing some water sampling throughout this project. The first one will be taken on your on-farm assessment, but we will do another round. And for that, we're going to need your help to make this efficient. We're actually going to ask you guys to take that second sample and drop it off. We will set up a location or multiple locations where we will be to pick those samples up from you and take them to the lab. But to make that happen, we're really going to need you guys to sort of work that into your schedule. And I know it's a heavy ask because you are very busy, but that's the only way we can make this happen with 20 farms spread across Oahu Island. So I want to talk a bit about the components of this program so that everyone understands really what the three parts of it are. So first thing, I've mentioned this already, and you again may have gotten an email about this from your advisor. We will be doing an on-farm assessment. That's the first step in this program. And the reason that we're doing that is because we want to come out to your farm, see the site, see your operation, and get a sense of what your current food safety practices are, as well as your current business needs. And then we're going to help make some recommendations on your operation. So those might be improvements, those might be things that you might want to purchase. We will also take your water sample, your first round of water samples at that visit. Second part of this is the funding, which I'm sure is what everyone is most interested in. So we do have funding available for you folks to make the purchases, to do your projects and make your improvements. That funding is going to be $6,500 available to each farm. You may have seen on the infrastructure request form in the initial email, that number was $5,500, and it has gone up. That's because at the time that we wrote those documents, we were checking on the budget and not quite sure how many farms we were going to have involved. So again, that total number, $6,500. So that's kind of a big number. So I want you guys to be thinking about what sorts of things you can do, purchase in your operation in terms of food safety, business improvements, and technology.
Hey, Lisa,
we are,
just,
yeah.
A quick, there's some people that want to enter from the waiting room.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, thank you, Cindy.
Thank you. I can't see that, but thanks.
Got it.
Thanks, Kevin. So, so back to the funding, we want to make sure that the funding is going to be used to support building capacity. So we really want to see in three categories. That's going to be food safety improvements, business improvements, and technical technology. So we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a minute. I just do want to let you know too, though, that we will be evaluating this. So we are responsible for making sure these projects get executed, and we're going to be doing a follow-up with you to see how it's coming along. The third part of the program is workshops. So we wanted to provide this technical training to folks, making sure that everybody has access to information about food safety, and in particular, to start to chip away at some of the things that you might need to do, particularly for certain folks that you might be selling to. In the future, if you choose to get GAP certified, you'll already have a handle on these practices. And if not, you might be selling to a distributor, for example, who wants to see some of your records. So we will be doing these 3 workshops. First one today following this is infrastructure. That's just going to be a basic food safety discussion about the infrastructure on your farm and how that relates to food safety. We'll also schedule a record keeping, traceability, and employee training workshop. And that will be in November, and a worker protection standards training also will be in November. The dates for those are not quite set, but they will be either the 13th or the 20th likely. And worker protection standards training, in case you're wondering, it is for any farm that uses a pesticide or has workers entering into a treated area. Doesn't matter whether that's organic or synthetic pesticides. That worker protection standards training is required annually. So I urge you to take advantage of that training. It's really important to sit through that. And we're going to go on to talk a little bit about these particular program components in a little bit more detail. First one, I want to talk about the on-farm assessments and the water sampling. So the on-farm food safety assessment will be conducted with 1 or more folks from our technical team and the operator, you, at the farm. And the purpose of that is really to make some specific recommendations for you to make improvements on the operation, specifically around food safety, also possibly around improving or expanding your business. The technical team will come with masks and we'll be using social distancing. So we want to make sure everybody stays safe and that we're following guidelines. So please observe that with us. We will be doing water testing for you folks, and we will do that for each farm, probably 2 samples per farm. That would be your irrigation water and your post-harvest water. We will collect those on your first visit. So when we come out to do your on-farm assessment, we'll gather a water sample from you. We will also do subsequent testing, again, with your help. So that will be where you collect the sample and you're going to bring it to a designated location where we'll grab it and take it to the lab. The water quality data that will be provided back to you will include your numbers on total coliforms and E. coli, and we'll talk about why that's important as we go through our second set of slides on the infrastructure. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit. Oh yeah,
can I jump in on the assessment really quick? One of the things to be prepared for at the assessment is to have your list of the things you want to buy ready. As a matter of fact, we're going to ask that you send that to Lisa or I 48 hours before your assessment, or actually as soon as you have it, so that we can get it to your inspector and they'll have a chance to review that before they get to your farm. So appreciate your help on that.
Awesome, Kevin. I was about to jump into that too.
Sorry.
That's okay. No, it's good. This is a really important piece to remember. So first on the funding program, the first step that needs to happen is getting this on-farm assessment done, and for us to get a sense of what it is you're looking to purchase for your operation. Again, I'm going to repeat it probably 2 or 3 more times. We have a really short window for this. We have only set up until November 10th to get these farm assessments done, because that's the max amount of time we can spend on them, and then we need to shift to buying materials. And so it is really important that you keep your appointment and that you take that infrastructure request form that we've emailed to you and start trying to fill that out. The sooner you can draft that up and send it to us, we can get it to the person who's going to be visiting your farm. And when they come out, they've already got a sense of what you're looking for, and they can help you refine that or add or delete things to it depending on your situation. So please submit that over this weekend if you can. And again, keep in mind it's a draft, but we would like to have as much detail for each of the individual items that you're putting on there as you can. That helps us when we go to order. So less back and forth, more quickly we can get things ordered and get items out to you. Again, on the funding, you can request up to $6,500 in eligible expenses. I'm going to talk more specifically about eligible expenses in a moment, but the purpose of this, once again, is we really want to build capacity. We want to see you guys make food safety improvements on your farm. Some examples of those things might be if you need water filters, if you need to improve your produce washing station, your wash pack area. Maybe you need a better bathroom. Maybe you need some really good harvest bins. Maybe you want to get some food safety training. So these are some examples of things you might be looking at, and I have a more comprehensive list a bit later. The second category that we want to support with this funding is your business needs for increasing sales. So depending on what your farm has been doing, you may need to buy some insurance. You may need to get GAP certified. There may be some ways we can help you with that. Lots of different things could fall into this category. So if you have questions about it, contact Kevin or I, and we can walk through it with you. Technology needs are the third category. And for this, we recognize because some farms may be pivoting a bit, and they may be looking at maybe more direct-to-consumer sales, and they're using online sales to achieve that. So for example, if you need website development or you need to improve your existing website, maybe you need some CSA management software. Those are things that might fall into this category. Perhaps you need a printer and you're tired of going to FedEx or Kinko's. So these are things that you can add into your infrastructure request form would be eligible expenses. One little catch in this entire program, we are not able to give you folks the money directly and let you make the purchases. We have to do all of that purchasing. That's a stipulation from the city and county. So again, I'm going to emphasize on your infrastructure request form, be as detailed as possible. If you can include a URL, if it's a model number, if it's a page number in a catalog, whatever details you can provide to us, that helps us out immensely as we move through ordering these things for you folks. In most cases, items will be delivered to the North Shore EVP address, which is in Waialua, and we will need you to pick them up there. So I hope that's not going to be super inconvenient, but there's really no way around it. And I hope that that's something y'all can help us out with and pick up your materials as they come in. We will, again, be evaluating the projects. So we will want to see what's happening as you're progressing. If there's any problems that come up, we're going to talk about it. And so, again, it's really important that communication between us is prompt and reliable. Just want to touch on a moment on the non-eligible expenses. So things that are considered consumables would be your general farming or distribution supplies. An example of that would be your packaging materials, toilet paper, paper towels, just general things that you need to purchase for the farm. We cannot pay your staff, unfortunately, so operating costs and things like that are not eligible expenses. If you've got a question about something, again, I'm going to give you our contact information, let Kevin or I know, and we can walk through it with you. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I have a quick question about ordering stuff and finding stuff. Is there like a chat room or some kind of shared thing where we can all ask, like, if I'm looking for a sink, where I found a good one, if someone else is looking for something, like they can share things? Because like I have a list of things on my a wish list, and I'm like, someone might know a better place to get something that they have. Like, is there a shared list of some sort, or a chat room or something like that that we could
probably just facilitate the emails back and forth. I don't know that that we have really a ton of time to set up anything more than that. So yeah, I mean, we'll do the best we can, connect you all by email if that's okay.
Well, yeah, I know a couple of people on the list already, and I'll probably be texting them. Do you know where to get something like this? Okay, thank you.
So possible eligible expenses. This has been a question I've had already from a couple folks. So this is not a comprehensive list. You may have other things in mind, but we did run a similar project to this on Kauai, and these are some of the things that folks had put on their projects. So harvest bins, I'm just going to make a note here too. We will be giving you all harvest bins as well. But if you need a lot of them or you need varying sizes, you're probably going to want to put something like that on your own list. Tables for produce packing areas, particularly if you can come up with something stainless steel or plastic that's easily sanitizable, those are good purchases. Water filters, water pumps, tarps for covering your packaging materials or other things outside. We want to keep as much of the lizard and gecko poop off of it as we can, so tarps are a good investment. Sinks, of course, we want to make sure everyone has proper washing capacity. I know some farmers rely on simple bathtubs because they're bigger and less expensive than sinks, so that would be an option as well. Drying racks, again, setting out your items to dry depending on whether it's tools or produce. Drying racks are really good to have on the farm. You may find that you need refrigeration. If you have power at your site and you have produce that you need to keep cool, possibly refrigeration could be an item that you might purchase. Storage sheds. This one, if you have pesticides that you're using on the farm and they are not currently locked up, buy a storage shed and lock them up. So put that on your list. Irrigation supplies for the projects. This is along the lines of if you are expanding or creating a packing area, a wash pack area, a bathroom facility, or a hand washing facility, you may need to purchase irrigation supplies. So that would be an eligible expense. And I will send this list out to you guys. So it's great if you're taking notes, but I will follow up with this already sent to you. So you don't have to write it all down right now. Oval hose and drip line could be an expense if you are expanding your farm. We are not looking to replace all of your existing irrigation. That is a regular farming, general farming cost. But if you are expanding, we may be able to help you a little bit with that. Field fencing and T-posts, again, this has to do with animal intrusion. If you've got pigs crisscrossing your fields, this might be an eligible expense for you. If you are redoing, improving, or creating a new wash area and you want some gravel or weed mat to make a nice surface on the floor that won't be muddy, that could be an eligible expense. If you are in group gap currently, or would like to be, you could put your group gap annual fee on that list. So that would be your fee for the coming year to participate in that program and eventually get Harmonized Gap certified. If you are interested in that, please talk to me or Kevin and we can provide you with an invoice and cost. Water testing, again, if you are in any kind of food safety certification program and you need your water tested at the labs in Honolulu, you might want to include your water testing costs. If you are, for example, an aquaponics operation, that's going to be a monthly cost. So we're going to work on figuring out what your cost is and multiply that by 12. If you are a farm with, for example, surface water, that's probably going to be a quarterly sampling and testing. So that would be times 4. Any questions on that, give me a call. This is unlikely, but if you are about to be certified or audited, it might be a possibility that we could cover that in this program. I know that's unlikely, but just throwing it out there. If you have changed your business such that you really need some financial training, for example, QuickBooks, that could be an eligible expense. CSA management software, if you're running a CSA or any kind of direct-to-consumer sales and you want to get something to help you with that. Website improvement and build-out, printer, scanner, copier. Again, those are business needs, technology needs that you might have. Laptop, the one thing I'm going to say about this is that we would ask if you do feel that you need a laptop to keep your business going, we're going to ask that you not spend more than $2,000 on that particular item. So we're not out to buy like the swankiest computer that there is. Insurance or other fees certainly could be an eligible item as well. And then last but not least, if you have a porta potty rental for your farm, particularly if you're coming up short of that $6,500 number, let's put your Lua rental on for a few months and cover that. So that's really important for food safety, and we would feel comfortable adding that in. So now that you're kind of getting a sense, I hope, of the types of things that you could include on your infrastructure request form, I want to go over the timeline and the next steps, because this, again, is super critical to the execution of this project. First thing, on-farm assessments. They will begin on Monday. You may have already had an email from someone on the team. So if that has happened and you weren't quite sure what it is, now you know. So please let them know if you're available. We will do those through the 10th. That is the last day that we'll be performing OnFarm assessments. So please do your best to fit into that timeline. If you can have your infrastructure request form drafted over the weekend, shoot it to me and Kevin, hopefully as soon as you can. We will send it on to your technical advisor and make sure they have a sense of what you're looking to do so that when they come out, they're as equipped as they can be to help you with that. On the day of your assessment, your technical advisor will meet with you at the farm. They will ask you some questions, probably want to see your operation, so maybe a quick tour, a little talk story. They're going to go over a checklist with you. That is the on-farm food safety checklist that CTAR uses. And so that is to gather information about your current food safety practices. No right or wrong answers, just be honest about the practices, if you do them or you don't do them. We're really just trying to get a sense of what's going on so that we can help figure out how to help you. And this is not a regulatory visit. We are here to provide technical assistance, provide resources, and give you education. So anything that we can't answer, we're going to find out who can and help you out with that. But just please keep that in mind. We want to be as open and honest as possible. Once you have had your assessment, the technical advisor is going to sit down with you, make a summary of what they see on the farm and what you would like to do. They're going to help you revise or refine your infrastructure request form. And at the end of the day, we would like for you to send that infrastructure request form back to me or Kevin. And the reason for that is we want to kind of get a sense of, what has changed and what are things that haven't changed so that we can start ordering. You will have 2 days after that to change it. So if there's something that you forgot or that you see that you can add, or you see something, oh, I don't need this because somebody just gave me a sink, we can make that change. But after 2 days, after 48 hours, we really got to start ordering in order to get this money used up and the project completed on time. So please try to abide by those timelines. I will call you if I don't see your assessment come in after your assessment day, just to remind you and see what we can do to help you get that in. From November 10th to November 27th, we are going to be preparing and completing projects. So what we'd like for you folks to do is prepare as much as you can to get your projects done. And as soon as your materials start coming in, you're going to start working on those. We're going to continue the water testing. We will contact you about when that date will be and arrange those pickup locations. And we're going to continue our workshops. So I mentioned earlier, we want to make sure that there's some education to this and that everybody gets training. So there will be 2 further workshops, November 13th and 20th. I'm not sure which one will be on which date yet. We are awaiting some response from Department of Ag on their pesticide training date. But keep those dates in mind. And again, it will be a virtual workshop, probably right around the same time, lunchtime, so you can lunch and learn, take a little break from the farm, and then we'll get you back out to do what you need to do. And then we will, again, remind you that most of these materials are going to need to be picked up from North Shore EVP in Waialua. So we'll be in touch with you as your stuff comes in and start arranging that for you to come and pick them up.
Quick question, sorry. Would pickups be available on weekends? It's a
yes.
Yeah,
I think,
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. We want to make it as easy for you as possible. And I bet Kevin doesn't want all of that stuff in his house. So
okay, thank you.
Yeah. So a little bit more on the workshops, because I want to make sure we dive into this just a bit more. Today, when we finish here, we're going to talk a little bit about infrastructure requirements. And that's going to cover restrooms, hand washing, worker health and hygiene, and water. And I wanted to cover that because talking about it might give you some more ideas for things to put on your list, and also just to give you a sense of what we're looking for in terms of proper food safety practices. We're going to talk about record keeping and traceability and employee training in our next workshop. For that one, we'll be going over what are the logs that you need to keep for compliance, what is traceability, how do we write all this stuff down, how do we train employees, what do we talk about, and why. And then the worker protection standards training, again, that's required annually for any ag workers or pesticide handlers that are working in treated areas. So it doesn't matter whether the applications are organic or synthetic. it is required. And it has changed a few years ago. That's when it changed to an annual training. So if you've been a little bit out of the loop or not paying attention, you may not be aware, but it is something you're supposed to train on every single year. So we're setting that up. You'll get that training. You can have a copy of the sign-in sheet, and then that way, if you ever need to prove to someone that you did attend it, you'll have that. Associated with these workshops, we will be providing you with some swag, which is one of the things that we really like to do, is give things out to folks that associate with that workshop or have to do with that workshop. So we're going to be getting you guys DIY mobile hand washing kits. I'll be showing you a picture and talking about that in the next set of slides. We're going to give you a records binder with some templates in it that you can start to keep records. We're going to give you a first aid kit. Many of you probably already have that, but it's just really important to make sure that you have materials on the farm in case someone gets injured. We're going to give you a WPS posting kit. If you are making applications on the farm, you are required to put this information up and to have certain information available to your workers, including where is the nearest medical facility. So there's a kit that contains all of that. We're going to give you one of those. And then we're also going to give you some measuring vessels because that's a really important part of pesticide safety, is proper measuring. So we want to make sure everyone has access to that. So that'll be part of the swag. And then before we finish up with this, I just want to introduce our technical advisor team. It's a pretty big group of folks because this is a really big reach for us to do 20 farms in basically a month. And so just to name everybody, and you'll be familiar with them if they reach out to you. Francesca is our intern. She's been interning with us since the summer. She goes by Chess. So she'll be on the team. Flora is our food safety specialist. She previously worked for HCP Foods. So some of you may be familiar with her if you have provided produce to those guys. Cindy is our consultant. She works in her own ag consulting business called Ag Matters, very familiar with on-farm operations. And then we've got a team of folks from UHCTAR Extension Services. You may already be familiar with some of these guys as well, Josh, Jensen, and Amjad. They will be joining us to help us do this because 20 farms is a lot to go and visit in a short period of time. So when you have your on-farm assessment, you will be visited by one or more of the folks on this team. So thank you for making them feel comfortable and for working with them to get this done. We're really excited about this project, and it is going to be kind of a whirlwind, but I know we can get it done. And then last thing before we go to questions, and then we'll go into the next workshop. This is the contact information for myself and for Kevin. Again, Kevin is our president of North Shore EVP, and I'm the food safety director. So if you have questions, please reach out to either of us. Phone and emails are up here. We'll send this out as well to everyone following the workshop. For myself, it's totally fine if you would like to text me. That's okay. Calls are okay. Emails as well. So if it's an urgent matter, please text or call. Otherwise, an email is fine. And what I'm going to do now is open it up to any questions that you guys might have. So I'm going to stop screen sharing for just a moment. And let's see.
I just want to say, feel free to contact me anytime also. If you're working on something and you have a question, give us a call because we'd rather keep you working on that and getting that done than putting it off through email and things like that.
Exactly. I see there's some questions in the chat. We do have, oh, okay, one reminder. If you have not turned in your program agreement, we need that signed paper back ASAP because that really is what is allowing us to move forward in this with you. So if you haven't turned that in, please do so today. I know there's a couple folks maybe in here, Hua Orchards, Hawaii Fish, CCRM. You folks, if you would, please sign that document. You can send it back to me via email by scanning it, or if it's easier, just take a picture of it and text it to me. That's fine too. Two questions about equipment. One is, do the products have to be brand new? They do not. That is not a requirement, so used equipment is okay. Equipment attachments for tractors. That is probably not an eligible purchase because that would be general farming operations. We can talk further about that specifically, but I'm going to say likely not an eligible purchase. Any other questions out there?
Yeah, I have a few. Actually, I just wasn't sure, what is the time frame to complete the implementation of the projects on farm? Is that the November 27th date, or that's just to get it all in and then start working?
Ideally, we'd like to see things as close to done as possible because we will have to produce a final report and turn it in early December. That being said, sometimes there's going to be things that are out of our control. And so I would say do as best you can, as much as you can to get it done or as close to completion as possible. And then we will work with the city and county on a follow-up if need be.
Okay, another question is for the site visit, is it going to be field focused or pack shed focused? And what if we have multiple lots? Like, for example, we have 3 separate farms, but our wash and pack is only on one.
Okay. Generally, these visits are going to cover both field and wash pack because that's the scope of food safety goes across everything. So depending on how much time the advisor schedules with you, we may spend a little more time at your wash pack area since I think for you guys, I know that's part of your project is really focused on that area. They will certainly want to see the field. I will leave it to the technical advisor who's working with you to decide if they're going to visit every single one of your fields. It may be just kind of a tour of one, talk about your practices, make sure there's nothing drastically different in the others. Yeah, does that make sense?
Right. And then, yeah, and then last question on irrigation infrastructure. You had mentioned that if it's related to expansion, something like drip, like to me, drip is a very consumable thing. But it works out. But are other irrigation components specifically for production and expansion, like filters or PVC or things like that, also okay?
I would feel comfortable with filters as an eligible expense. PVC, we might have to talk about exactly what is the project. What does that entail? Yeah.
Okay.
So I think what we want to avoid is having someone use the bulk of their funding for just purchasing irrigation equipment. Yeah. So it has to be related to, is it a food safety issue? Like the filter could be a food safety issue. The expansion of your farm in response to, particularly to the pandemic, could be eligible. So we're going to have to kind of talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
There's a question in here about, do all the purchase items have to arrive at my farm before the end of the project ending date? Well, that's what we're hoping. We are really hoping that we can order everything and get it all in by the end of this project. Again, you know, we have no control over shipping and the Postal Service and everybody else. So that is why it's really, really critical that we get those infrastructure request forms nailed down with as much detail as possible so that we can get orders out as fast as we can. Certainly, we're going to, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I was going to say, ideally, everything should be received and implemented on everybody's farm by the end of the year. That's just kind of the use of these federal dollars. That said, I think anything that would need to come via ocean freight would probably not be eligible because it just won't get here before that time period.
And likewise, we want to stay away from anything requiring permitting because we all know how that goes on Oahu.
That was kind of my question as well. So if we wanted to build like a wash station, but we would need permits for it, can we order the materials and everything needed beforehand, or probably you should focus on other kinds of materials that we might need? Like we're looking at buying sinks and things like that, and it will eventually be covered, but I don't think we'll be able to have it built by the end of the year. Would that still be okay?
I would say that if it's going to involve permitting, we probably can't do that part of it. But if it involves outfitting what will be in there, I think we can help you with that.
Okay.
Yeah, we just don't want material sitting around at the end of the year. because
Right.
we kind of really need to go back to city and county with the list of accomplishments. And
Yeah.
the accomplishments can't be, you know, I got a bunch of lumber outside.
Okay.
Yeah, just keeping
got
in
it.
mind these are federal dollars, and we're going to be on the hook for an audit of this kind of stuff. So so please help us out to keep it all above board.
Yep, got it.
Couple other questions in the chat box. What type of water filtration system requirement? I don't think we're going to put any particular specs on that at the moment. When your technical advisor comes out and talks with you at the farm, they can get a better sense of what your water situation looks like, and we can move forward. But I would say $6,500 ought to cover quite a bit of water filtration needs. Another question on here, which is, does a wash pack need to have a roof or specific enclosure guidelines, and would this be a covered expense? Really good question. There's a lot of misinformation out there about what wash pack areas need to have, but a roof is, yes, ideal. Because we don't want to have birds flying over and letting go while you're out there packing your lettuce. So a roof is good. The better material, the better. So I have seen, for example, over here on Kauai, we had a lot of farmers who had wash pack areas that were basically under a pop-up tent. And so they used their funds to create an actual nice wash pack area with a roof, a proper structure. So that is the kind of stuff that we'd like to see. Remember, just keep in mind, this funding is really intended to build your capacity. And so we want long-term type of investments. Like for harvest bins, I'd prefer that they're not something that you go buy at Walmart. Invest in nice, good, for that purpose harvest bins. Another question here, will used equipment purchased from individual sellers qualified if need for business improvement? Yes, potentially. It's something that we would certainly talk about. So when we get a sense of what your business needs are, where you're being held back, then yes, we can talk about what those specific needs would be. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
When we do the infrastructure request form, should it total up to less than 6,500, or since it's sort of like a wish list and you may actually reject stuff, can we go above 6,500 and then you guys will decide what is appropriate?
That's a great question. I would recommend getting it to 6,500 for sure. And then if there's something that we're not comfortable with, we can swap out. So maybe have sort of a B list, you know, you got your A list and your B list. Include things like tax and shipping. So you want to keep those types of things in mind. I would definitely recommend trying to get all the way up there, though. We don't want to leave money on the table, right? We want you guys to get the full effect and leverage these funds.
If we're getting materials for a project, is that something that North Shore EVP is going to purchase, then take to Wailua? Or is that something that we could meet them at the, Home Depot or whatever to pick up the materials?
That's a great question. I think depending on the situation, we might be able to make that happen. So if we know things are coming in, we can notify you and say, hey, you know, Kevin, your load has arrived, and we can go there with you. Likewise, for some things like irrigation supplies, it might be possible for example, you're going to go to AgTech Pacific, you're going to tell them what you need, or tell us what you need, and we're going to order for you, and then you can go pick it up. So we're going to try to make this as efficient as possible, but we also realize that there's going to be probably some hiccups because we have to do all the ordering.
Great, thank you.
Are we allowed to order like an excavator rental in order to prepare the land for the pack shed?
I would probably feel comfortable with that. Kevin, thoughts?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it kind of depends a little bit on the timing of the whole pack shed project, though.
Okay. And if we have, I saw in the paperwork that we're limited to a $2,000 cap per item. If we want things above $2,000, could we cost share that, or would we, how would that work?
We should talk about those things. There's a lot of concern at the city and county about anything over $5,000, and we said we were going to keep everything below 2. But if you are buying equipment, there's other considerations that we need to make. So if it's between 2 and 5, we can talk about it. If it's over 5, we probably can't do it.
And then one other, this question in the chat box about should we factor in shipping expenses? Yes, you want to add that in. So any additional expenses would be factored into your draft.
Anticipate taxes too, because that's a considerable chunk when you got $6,500.
Yeah. All right. So certainly feel free to contact Kevin or I with additional questions. Cost of repairs. What about cost of repairs? Oh, so that is probably general farming operation. I'm not sure we can cover that for repairs. Question from Cindy, if there is a large item like a fridge that could be delivered to the individual farm, or would it go to the NSEVP office? I think if we got fridges coming and they can go right to the farm, that's ideal.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
I don't know if Kevin has a dolly to move a fridge. So we will try to work that out with you guys. I mean, I just have to keep saying, please do your best to work with us, because we've not executed something like this before, and these stipulations that we have to deal with are a little bit onerous, but we want to make it happen. So we're going to do our best, a little bit. So we're going to do our best. So if you've got ideas or friends with trucks or anything like that, let us know. If there's no more questions at the moment, I'm going to segue into one more. If we need gravel, it would be delivered to the farm. Yes, yeah, that is, we're not sending that to Kevin's house. So I'm going to segue into the infrastructure, and I'm going to try to keep this brief because I know we're already at almost an hour.
Lisa, briefly, there's another question about, for training, the cost is included with the total. How much does it cost?
For training, the cost is included with the total. How much does it cost? Are you talking about the group gap training? Sorry. Yes. Okay. Yes, Group GAP. So that's a program that we run to help folks get GAP certified. We work under the harmonized GAP standard. We will be recruiting for that next cohort or next group in the early part of 2021. It's a $750 cost, and that covers you for the year with all of the help that we give you to get your certification. If you are interested in doing that and putting yourself in that cohort, you can contact Kevin or myself, and we'll help you with that and do the invoice.
And then one last question from me before we go on. Is anyone here from Virgil's Farm? Virgil's Farm or Sang Pong's farm? Okay, we need to check and see if there aren't just technology issues getting.
Yeah, I think with Virgil's there was. I did send him the phone number to call in, but he did tell me he was at the farm. So.
Okay.
All right, guys, I'm gonna share my screen again and walk you through some food safety